Hey guys, today we are going to talk about self love is seeing ourselves. Hatred is simply a lack of love. Contrary to popular belief, hatred is not impassioned anger. Hatred is not impassioned anything. Hatred is an absence of something that should exist, such as love from a parent to a child. If that mother's face never lights up when she looks at her son, the child doesn't feel neutral, he feels despised. If her eyes never light up when he says his first word or takes his first step or learns to master his body and his environment around him, he doesn't feel neutral. He feels hated. And he will internalize that hatred to feel that he is shameful and have self contempt for himself. In Hebrew, the word for God's presence literally means God's face, which actually means God's eyes. So having God's favor means being seen by God. In English, the word despised literally means not seen, contrasted with the word special, which literally means to be seen. Children need to feel special. They need to feel seen, and they will do anything in order to be so. If doing normal child things doesn't deliver this, they will do the bad things in order to procure this recognition, even if it's not ideal. If they don't feel consistently seen by the parents, they will seek this from teachers and other authority figures, as well as from their peers. Sometimes this means getting good grades and pleasing those authority figures, but other times it can entail being the class clown or worse. When they get a little older, they will try to oftentimes get recognized for their sexuality or their attractiveness, which can be compulsive, where they betray themselves. Neglect is never neutral, and it's actually more detrimental than the things that we normally think of as outright abuse because it is more chronic and more insidious. Neglect is a form of active hatred by the parent. I know people my age and older who are still desperate for recognition from a parent or an authority figure. They're still enslaved and enmeshed to their unloving or invalidating parent in this way. And no matter what they achieve in their lives, they are still miserable. But it doesn't end there. They're also enslaved to their boss in the same way because we project this unmet need onto others, especially authority figures. I once had a female client in her 60s tell me how she found a mother figure. She found a woman older than herself that made her feel approved of and how she needed that. So when does it end? It doesn't. We will take this longing to the grave. The question isn't when it ends, but what is the antidote, which is to give this love to ourselves. Not in the vague, ethereal way that we often hear about, but in the pragmatic, tactical way of integrating with our inner child. If hatred is an absence of love communicated by a lack of feeling seen or recognized, love consists of the tangible embodiment of being that approving mirror for ourselves. A great place to start is to do an integration exercise. So, listener, if you're new to hearing my podcast episodes, please, I want to refer you back to a former podcast episode called How to Bypass Therapy. And in that episode, I lead my listeners through an integration exercise that they can do for themselves. So that is the best place to start, but it's not where we end because it's ongoing. Let me give you an example. So about a week ago, I attended a women's group at my church, And I spoke out at this group. I had some things to say. And usually there's one or two women who are present who will thank me and tell me how insightful my sharings are for them and how helpful they are, which feels great. But this particular time, those women were not in attendance. And I left on my way home thinking, I wonder what those people thought. I don't know. But then I caught myself. And I said to myself, it actually doesn't matter what they think. Because the truth is, some of them might think what I share is really cool, and some aren't just going to get it. They're just not. And that's okay, because it doesn't make the content of what I shared any less valuable. What matters in the end is what I think about what I shared. So I paused and I reflected on the things that I did say that day. And I thought to myself, yeah, that was really insightful. Those were great things. And voila, I felt satisfied. So, another practical example of self love is when I reflect on something that I have done or said in the past that I regret. And instead of just focusing on that thing I said or the thing I did, I don't just focus on that. I take in the whole picture. I try to remember the whole context of what was going on so that I can understand why I did or said that thing, and specifically what I felt in that moment. And when I take in the whole context and I really look at it, I can see that, those feelings I had were actually very valid. What I did with them in response to those feelings weren't so great, but the feelings themselves were valid. And when I do that for myself, I'm not in denial of anything. I'm still feeling, regretful for what I did, but I am understanding myself more. And that's my objective, is to seek understanding and to give myself self-compassion as well. And when we do this for ourselves, we create an environment of grace, which is the only environment in which we can learn from mistakes. And I'm the only one who can do this for myself. We are the only ones who can and need to create this. Notice the nuance here. This is the opposite of black and white, shame-based thinking that sees things as all good or all bad. What I'm doing is I am letting myself show practical love for myself, because love sees the complexity in humans. Love is generous, and love seeks understanding. The outcome of love is learning and growth and maturity, because love is life-giving. Won't you join me, friend, in living a life of love? It can make everything different. It can change everything, especially us. Thank you for listening today. Feel free to share this with a friend, subscribe to my podcast, and of course, give me a 5-star review. Thank you.